Artists, hello. I am excited because today we are going to be making some geometric overlapping art. This project looks beautiful and it's really easy. So the things that you're going to need is your paper. You will need a pencil or a marker, and you should use some crayons if you have them, or colored pencils, or even watercolors, a ruler if you have one. If you don't, you can use anything with a straight edge, a book, a box, anything at all. You'll also need some cardboard. You can either use a cereal box, a dinner box, or a toilet paper roll, or even a paper towel roll, as long as it's thin cardboard. I don't want any of those Amazon boxes that come in the mail. Something thin. If you don't have that, that's okay. But we are going to start with that material. So if you don't have this, I would recommend getting a second piece of paper and following along. And you'll also need scissors. So I'm going to be using my toilet paper rolls today. I'm going to cut the paper roll once down the side so that it opens wide. And I'm going to actually use two of them so that I have a variety of options. So again, I'm going to cut it down the side. Just one line rolls it into a nice piece of cardboard. Next, our next step is to make some stencils. We're going to be making geometric shapes on our cardboard. Since mine was rolled, I'm going to flatten it just so it's a little easier to work with. If you used a box, you won't have to do this step. Okay, now I want some geometric shapes. The first one I want to make is a square. Oh, goodness, get out of here. So a square, of course, has four equal sides. So if I really want it to be a square, I can measure if I'm using a ruler. If you're not using a ruler, you don't have to, because this doesn't have to be perfect. All right? So I'm going to make my square 2 inches by 2 inches. I think that will look nice. Okay. And keep in mind that you'll be putting these on your paper. So this square is actually pretty small. So I'm also going to make a rectangle, and I'm going to make the rectangle bigger. I'm going to make the rectangle also 2 inches long, but go all the way down to the edge of the paper. And then in this extra space, I think I can fit a long right triangle if I take my ruler and I go down the side. Now you don't have to follow along with what I did, but I have a square, a rectangle, and two right triangles. And now I'm going to set this one aside so I can use this piece. I really want a circle for this project. I didn't ask you to get something that's in the shape of a circle, so if you have something, you can trace it or you can freehand. I'm going to trace it. I'm going to use the SpongeBob cup and trace along the bottom. I didn't ask you to get one of those, so if you want to pause the video and get something that's shaped like a circle, go ahead. Ooh, that looks nice. And now I also want a parallelogram. That would make this project look really cool. And I want it to be as big as I can, so bigger shapes are going to make it go a little faster. So to make my parallelogram, I want one side with my ruler to go all the way to the edge and the other side to stop before it does. So I stopped about where that circle is. I thought that would be nice. And then I'm going to go up at an angle all the way to the corner of my cardboard. And this one I'm going to go at the same angle all the way to the corner. See, what I did was I slid the ruler. Do you see how sliding the ruler gently helps me keep it at mostly the same angle? Okay, I have a variety of shapes now. They're all geometric shapes. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut them out. Now if you're using another piece of paper, do the same thing, just cut them out. The only reason I'm recommending cardboard is because these are going to be tracing stencils for us. And if you use cardboard or something else that's a little thicker, it's going to be easier to trace. Ah! Okay, sorry, I had to sneeze. I'm gonna cut along my marker lines. Maybe you're cutting along your pencil lines. And look at that, it made a teeny tiny triangle too. I think I'll keep that. I think that adds some fun variation. And let's cut this circle out. Okay, now I have some scraps. I'm going to set them aside so that I can throw them away. And this piece was technically a scrap, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it for our project. And now I have two identical right triangles. For this project, having two of the same thing doesn't really do me any favors, so I'm going to turn this triangle into a equilateral triangle. I'm going to do that. You don't have to copy this, but I'm going to take that central point, fold it in half along the bottom. I'll show you closer. Take that central point, fold this in half along the bottom, fold it, and then I'm going to cut where they meet. And now I have an equilateral triangle. You don't have to do that. You don't need an equilateral triangle if you don't want one. Okay, I have three triangles, one square, one rectangle, one parallelogram, and one, which is also a diamond. Take a look, and one circle. I'm happy with that. If you want different shapes, if you want more shapes, now is the time. Go right ahead. The next thing that I'm going to do, besides fuss with my cord, I'm going to set my ruler aside. I don't need it anymore. I get to actually start my project. Now, this step I'm only doing to protect my pretty table. No, I'm not. Sorry. Take that away. It makes it bumpy. It's okay if I get marker on the table. Next, you're going to use your stencils and trace them all over your paper. They can be anywhere. They can be in corners. They can be straight lines. Now I've traced that. I'm going to set it aside. They can be next to each other. Oh, my stencil moved a little bit. That's okay. That'll still look really cool. They can overlap. In fact, they really should overlap in some places in order to make this project look awesome. Make sure that your shapes are overlapping. Now, what I'm choosing to do is use one shape and then switch off to a different shape. You don't have to do that. You can do it any way you want. Maybe you want to do a lot of circles first, and then you want to do a lot of diamonds next, or parallelograms next. Maybe you want to do a lot of right triangles first. Maybe you want it to be a nice pattern. Maybe you don't care. It doesn't matter how you lay them out. This one, notice how it's going off the edge? I think that's gonna look really nice. Overlap. Okay, now I am not as fancy as some YouTubers who can just fast forward while I work. So instead, what I'm going to do is pretty soon, actually, maybe I won't need to. Yeah, we're just going to keep working together actually. That way you can just pause the video if I go too far ahead. But Do you see how they're looking? Now, right here in the center, I have enough shapes there. I don't want to add any more shapes crisscrossing in this middle section because what we're going to do is color all of the shapes that are visible to us. And if the spaces that you're coloring are too small, it's going to get really frustrating. Okay. See, like that shape, that's pretty small. I don't know if I should have done that. That might have been a mistake. Oh well. And I'm going to use my circle probably more than I use most of my other shapes because you'll notice most of my geometric shapes have really sharp edges. And so the circle adds some difference to it. It makes it look a little bit more soft in some places. Connect those lines. If you're like me and you left the corners undone, make sure you connect them as you go. This parallelogram is going to come down here. This will be cool. And I am almost satisfied. Ooh, yeah. Let's add one here. I'm going to add one in about every corner. This one's going to go off the page like that. Okay, looking cool. This one's going to come down here, a little triangle. Let's have my equilateral triangle, which I haven't used that often, up here in this corner. Whoops! I made a bump line. That's just fine. Okay. I am satisfied with this. This looks really cool already. If you really wanted to, you could stop. Now at this point, if you don't have colored pencils or crayons or any other coloring material like markers, it's time for you to use your pencil. You can use the pencil and color in shapes solid, or you can do different designs. For example, in this section, I'm going to do little stars, teeny tiny little stars, which don't show up because I'm using pencil. And then next to it, I'm going to do some stripes. See how that looks? Oh my goodness, I accidentally made an American flag. So if you don't have colored pencils or crayons, go ahead and do that. But if you do, like me, go ahead and get them open and choose some of your favorite colors. Now, this is your project. I'm not there to tell you what to do. So you fill in the colors where you want. The only thing I would recommend is try and make sure you don't have the exact same color touching. So I'm not going to put yellow right here. Instead, I'm going to put some red right there. Ooh, this is called razzmatazz. I'm going to put one over there too. So same thing with the shapes. You can color in any strategy you want. Maybe you want to do one shape at a time, one color at a time. Maybe you want to hop around the page like I am. Maybe you want to do a combination. It doesn't matter. What I want is for you to take your time, do careful coloring, and have fun. And by careful coloring, I mean that I am filling in the whole space. A good tip for careful coloring, go around the space that you're coloring and then fill it in. Let me show that tip again with a darker color so it's easier to see. Let's use purple somewhere. Gonna color the edge. Oh, that's not purple, that's blue. Going to color the edges of the space that I want to fill in. And then color it in. Another tip to make your coloring look really nice. Coloring always looks best if you go in one direction. Do you see how I'm going diagonal in one direction, and then I'm filling in the white spaces. That makes it easier to make sure you don't miss anything, and it makes it look prettier, honestly. Okay, I'm going to do two more, and then I am going to do my Mrs. Hendricks version of fast forwarding. I'm going to color right over where I put my pencil marks. Okay, now is the time for you and I to both color. Oh, something else. You can either color just the shapes or you can color the spots that are in between them as well. I'm going to show you both. Okay, I chose to color just inside the shapes themselves first, but I still have all these spaces to fill in. So you could decide, maybe you want to fill them in with colors, maybe you want to leave it white, you really like how this looks, maybe you want to make it black. I'm going to try black. So let's get back to speeding through this while I color black, and I'll show you the finished product soon. Okay, and here we go. There's my project. It looks cool from any angle. I'm really proud of it, and I hope that you are proud of yours. I would love to see it. Have a good rest of your week.